Hey y'all, it's Michael, and today I'm here to do my VEDA book reviews. These are the books that I finished during VEDA, so let's just get started because it's super late now. Like, it's about 10 o'clock and I still have to edit this and upload it because my family came from New Orleans and then, well, you know, they brought crawfish, so, and crab, and so that's, and then I had to drop off my L, and that took some time, so enough, let's talk about books. Surprisingly, I read a good amount of books. I was really quite genuinely surprised because I thought I didn't read as much as I did, so hey, that's a good thing. So the first one I finished was Finding Amos by J.D. Amos, Rashonda Tate Billingsley, and Bernice L. McFadden. I listened to it on audiobook and it's narrated by Kevin Free. It's from three perspectives of three women. They're all related essentially because all their biological dad is Amos, and we do get some chapters of him also. This is more of a family saga type of plot, and it was okay. I didn't find it memorable or anything like to be wowed upon. I did enjoy some of the characters. This is a weird thing when several authors are writing a novel together, because what I'm assuming is that certain authors got certain characters because certain characters' plot was much better than some of the other ones, and way more interesting, and some were even like funnier and more developed than the other ones. The writing was all over the place, so I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. The next one is A Brief History of 7 Killings by Marlon James. I already did a whole review on it. You can go check it out. 5 stars out of fucking 5. That's how good it is. You should go read it. Next, I finished Saga Volume 4 and 5 by Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples. I already talked about this on Best Books of Quarter 1 because I just decided to glump it all together. And it's good. The hype is so real for it. I would recommend it. So good. I gave Volume 4 5 stars and then I gave Volume 5 4 stars. The story is going to a really cool direction. The next one that I finished is Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows by J.K. Rowling. I listened to it on audiobook and it's narrated by, of course, the awesome Jim Dale. This is the last one, and I wanted to finish all of the books before The Cursed Child comes out because I just wanted to re-experience it again. When you look at it from the whole thing, is that it brings everything together. And I did enjoy them looking for the well, I don't know if this is a spoiler, but they're looking for the Horcruxes. The thing though is, again, like I said, as an adult reading Harry Potter and being more mindful and being more aware, you can really see cracks in the writing. And granted, now in her defense, maybe she kept it really simple just because, I mean, technically it's a children's, it's categorized under the children's section. I was talking about this with my cousin who is a avid Harry Potter fan. She loves Harry Potter. I think after I read, what's it called? History of Magic in North America, or History of Magic in the Americas, or something like that. I was really hesitant when I went into this one because I was thinking, don't think I forgot what you wrote in that little short story. Yeah, but we'll see. I'm just blabbing, whatever. Yeah, overall I gave the novel 5 stars just because I really do have a emotional connection to the series, and sometimes it's really hard for me to separate that, and this is one of those things where it's just so ingrained in my childhood that it's really hard for me to knock it because it really does represent me as a reader in the past. And maybe I should talk more about this in my in like a separate video because I can really talk about my feelings towards Harry Potter and how it's changed. And it's like I'm on this weird bridge, I guess, on this weird vibe of I love it because of my childhood, but I can really critique it. And when you critique it and look at it subjectively, I listened to Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda by Becky Albertalli, narrated by Michael Crouch. When I try to read a novel, I wouldn't try to compare it to other novels. A few books before this, I just listened to another LGBTQ young adult novel before this, and I was like, that That's more happy than not. And I love that. I really love that book. And so when I was going into this, I wouldn't say I had high expectations, but it was kind of like, I've just experienced a really good novel. You kind of need to step it up. And this one just did not do it, and I can tell you why. This is about Simon, who hasn't told anyone yet that he's gay, but he has a pen pal, and they're talking back and forth, and come to find out his pen pal goes to his school, but then also someone starts blackmailing him. The premise is actually surprisingly, like, it sounds really good. Like, it's actually pretty good. My main critique of this is that the characters and the tone, and more of like attention, I guess you could say, because each character, now this is from a first person point of view of Simon, each character felt really one note, and that's also like similar to the book. The whole thing felt just like one, because the beginning seemed like, I was like, okay, never reached this plateau, like this high. The beginning set like, really one, like, it was just a flat line. Even with the dialogue, every character sounded as if like they were the same person technically, and in the writer's defense, I guess you can kind of see that, because since it is a first person account, I guess that could be a thing, but just be able to sense a difference between them. I gave it 2 stars out of 5. The next one is The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater, narrated by Will Patton. This book is incredibly hyped on BookTube. And the weird thing is, yeah, this book is really hyped and a lot of people haul it and talk about it and how amazing it is. I did not know the plot going into this, which I was pleasantly surprised on how the story unfolds. Narrator-wise, the narration on this is really good. If you're thinking about picking up the audiobook of this, it's really top notch, and that's because the tone of the book matches the narrator perfectly, and it matches the vibe of the plot. It has this really moody, dark, creepy, shadowy vibe to it, and I really enjoyed it. A lot of people say this when they read this book, that it is really character driven, and I can really see that, because the plot, it almost feels as though it takes a real back seat to the characters. You know who these people are. Even the supporting characters are really nice, and the dialogue, like, the dialogue on here is just really good. Like, there was a lot of good things going for this novel, and I can really see why people are really hyped up about it. I'm going to continue listening to the series, so that's a really good testament. I really enjoyed it, actually. I gave it a 3.5. I just rated it a 3 on Goodreads. It was a nice, pleasant surprise. I was really genuinely happy that I was like, oh, this is not bad. Wow, look, all these YA books. Anyways, the next one is I Crawled Through It by A.S. King. I first heard of this book just floating around, essentially. I was genuinely surprised, about this novel. It does what it does really well. How would I categorize? It's not magical realism, it's more like, it's maybe like a surrealist novel, kind of like a YA Kafka. Okay, you know what, let me not make that comparison, but it's kind of like a young adult surrealist novel in the way that it presents everything, because here nothing makes sense, and I really enjoyed that. Like, there's a lot of things in this novel that makes no sense, but in the end it makes sense. It's about a group of kids who are connected somehow, and come to find out that the school is receiving bomb threats, and then you get to see how these characters are essentially connected, and and how the story unfolds. The best thing about this is the writing, and that's what makes it really feel out there. I really enjoyed the writing. If our other novels are as good as this, I will pick them up. It does talk a lot about some heavy themes that you don't actually find out until the end. It does tell you a lot, maybe like 75% of what everything actually is, but that 25% can really keep you guessing. Like, there's some weird things on here that is just really weird. Like, why in the world can you only see that helicopter during a certain day? It's just really bizarre, and this constant feel of just what is going on, and the writing keeps constantly changing, and it moves at a pace that I was like, it made me want to keep reading. I really liked it. I just really like this novel. I gave it 4 stars out of 5. I think it's one to check out. It's so different. Now I'm not gonna lie, it is one of those books you're either going to like it like I am or not, because the first few pages, if you're one of those people that doesn't like to guess, and if you like your things straightforward, this isn't for you. The next one is Carry On by Rainbow Rowell, narrated by Ewan Morton. Now with this book, I was so excited to read it. I was so excited to read it. That's because I really enjoyed Fangirl. Like, I really enjoyed Fangirl by her. In case you don't know, Carry On is basically the fan fiction of Fangirl. So, yeah, there's that. I thought that Fangirl did a really great job of encapsulating how being in college makes you feel. Like, the first time you're in college, that nervousness, that anxiety, and that like loneliness it reminded me so much of my college experience. I was like, oh my gosh, and I really enjoyed a lot of that book because it really did bring up some great themes like copyright, like about what exactly is yours, and so going into Carry On, I was like, I'm gonna enjoy this, and come to find out, I didn't. I did not like this novel. I had a lot of problems with it. It's about Simon and Baz, and they're like in a magical school. This is basically like a Harry Potter fanfiction, essentially. That's exactly what it is, actually. In the world, it's technically would be the 8th or 7th book in the series. We are dived in, like head first, into their 8th year of wizarding school. It felt as though I was really left out, because when you decide to put your novel in that far of a series, like if you start a series that far, like you're definitely gonna miss some stuff. And yes, they do recap stuff, but then that's where for me, it broke me from the experience. This book would have been better if it was done in 3rd person, because when it's done in 1st person, it can get really confusing when there's a lot going on and it switches the narrators. And I was like, why don't you just switch to 3rd person when there's so much going on instead of 1st person? Because as a reader, well, I was listening to this, but as a listener, it was like there's a lot going on, and I can process like a lot of things going on when I'm listening to audiobooks. But I was like, what? It's just like so much going on, and it kept switching back and forth. The problem with the 1st person was also a lot of the tenses was in past tense. This felt really weird because when the tense switches to, because it's in 1st person, so a lot of the tenses are in present tense, but then they would recall a lot back, and to me that felt like almost of like a misstep, because I felt like this novel just kept referring back to things that happened in the past. Some parts, it was just like constant flashbacks. They kept talking about what happened in their previous years. The way that this book is structured, something happens and it was so obvious. I don't know if it was supposed to be like a plot twist or like exactly what the situation is, but it just did not work for me. I don't give a 1 star unless like I desperately didn't like it, but there were some parts in here that I was like, that's not bad. The main thing that I really did enjoy about this, and why I didn't give it, why I gave it 2 stars, was the magic system. The way that magic is spoken, it is so cool. It's cool and smart at the same time, which I really enjoyed. But yeah, I gave it 2 stars out of 5. The next one is The Vegetarian by Han Kang. I did do a whole video of the review about it, so I'll link it here. But I did ask my friend who speaks fluent Korean, and I asked her how to say the main character's name, so let me get my phone. In case you're wondering where my phone is, I use it as a light because sometimes this light that I use right here doesn't work the best. In case you're wondering, I had to change my battery and change the battery on my light because it was dying, and so now I notice why it was getting dimmer, but whatever, I ain't gonna film this because it's, oh my god, it's 10:30, you guys. El Stregel. This is how you pronounce the character's name.
Young-hae.
So yes, it is pronounced Young-hae. The next one is Teaching My Mother How to Give Birth by Warren Shire. I already did a video on it, so check it out right here. Now, these last two novels are actually Asian authors, and so I've come to the conclusion that for May, I was like, how am I gonna do these type of reviews as I finish these books? And I was thinking, in May, that's Geminis. Those are twins. So I'm gonna do like 2 books at a time. So that's my reasoning. I'm gonna try to do 2 books at a time for my books for May, so you'll see them spaced out. And if it's a pretty long book, cause I might tackle IQ 8-4 right there. So we'll see. Tomorrow we're going to this wedding. I'm super excited. I got my clothes, which is really cool because I went shopping today. If you read any of these novels, let me know what you think about them. Until then, I'll see you guys so later. Bye! Bye bye!
Bye bye!
Say bye!
See you tomorrow, okay?
Ooh, she can't be bothered.
I'm gonna miss you, my dear.